What's up, everyone? Well, this is not what we expected, but welcome to the end of year wrap up for Forging Fates. We have our wonderful Sarah that is going to be hosting tonight's festivities. So I hope you all send her some love because she does a lot around here and we really appreciate her. Um, Besides that, we have everyone on cast except for Donald, obviously. He's stuck in the holiday travels, unfortunately, which is why we had to reschedule tonight's game, but we figured we'd have a nice little recap session, talk about everything that's happened so far in the show, maybe give a little insights to some of the characters, and if the cast has any questions for me about things that I can tell, I will do so. If you guys have any questions, start throwing them in the chat right away. Sarah's gonna kind of take over from here and pick out the questions she likes. I know she's had some stuff that she's prepared as well, and we'll get into it, everyone. Sarah, the floor is yours.
All right, as you said, guys, I'm Sarah. You probably are more commonly used to seeing me as it's Kusa-chan in the chat or just Sarah in our Discord. Um, we got a lot to get over go over tonight. There's a lot of stuff you guys have been through. But I want to take us, since we're looking at uh what's all happened in a year, I want to take us all the way back to auditions. That's where I want to start. I want to start at the beginning. So, first question I know I have, and I don't know about some of the others, and my brain's a little fuzzy tonight, so I need your guys' help if this question's already been answered. But what made you guys want to audition for this in the first place?
Who do you want to start with?
Um,
Sarah.
let's go ahead and just start from the top. It's just me, Joe, and Jem. So, Jem, you're up first.
Can you hear me all right? Cool. What made me want to audition? I saw a post in the Facebook group, and I'd been looking to join more D&D games because the games that I was playing a part of never. We were struggling with the D&D problem of never having shared time to play. Our scheduling was rough, so we would go months and months without playing, and I really wanted to play more. So I was in like a D&D group finder group or something like that. And I saw the post and I, yeah, I think I spoke about this on my interview too, but I had been like through this whole kick these past few years of embracing chaos. And so I was like, oh, this is something new, something playing D&D with strangers. Let's do it. And I didn't even like give myself a second chance. I just expressed my interest and joined the Discord, and the rest is history.
We'll just keep working down the line. Taz, you're next.
Yeah, so this is a funny story, and I don't actually know how many of you know this. Probably none of you. I had well, okay, so my boyfriend Adam is the one who saw the ad, and he wanted to audition. And he told me about it, and he wanted us to do it together. And I was like, no, I have no interest in doing that. And he asked me like two more times over the course of a week or two. And eventually I was like, okay, he really wants me to do this. I know I'm not going to get it. So let me just sacrifice one night so that he and I can play together and it'll be so much fun. So then I auditioned and I got both of the kills during my audition. I was like, oh shit, well, you know what? If they offer it to me, I'm not going to take it. I don't want to do this. Like, this isn't my dream. And then Joe offered it to me. I was like, oh shit. I've never won anything before. I guess I should accept this. And lo and behold, here I am. Completely by accident.
Dom?
Yeah.
Um, one, that's hysterical. Love that for you. Two, I was playing in a pickup game with the Phoenix. As many of you know, we are partnered with the Phoenix, and they uh, have other D&D streams that they do. And one day, Miles, who was running the game I was in, said, "Hey, you're really good at this. You want to try and do this on a live stream?" And I'm like, "Yes, I love D&D. You're offering more? Absolutely, let's go." She goes, "I know a guy." Just put me in touch with Joe, and he's like, "Yeah, you can audition. I mean, I can't guarantee anything, but like, yeah, we'll put you in a game, and then we'll see what happens." Played in a game, and here we are.
And last and certainly not least, the beautiful Cece. What's your answer?
I was in a group finder on Facebook and I saw the ad. I'm just like, oh, this seems fun. And I saw that it would be streaming on Twitch, and I've always wanted to be on Twitch in some sort of way. And the group that I was in was sort of falling apart. Schedules would never line up. And people I was just like, why not give it a shot? So I joined the Discord. Everybody was super nice and inviting. The audition was super fun. And I felt like Joe was targeting me because I got knocked down twice. But it was still a lot of fun. And I got a call shortly not long after that saying, "Hey, you want to move to round 2?" And I'm like, "Sure."
Yeah, I feel like Joe had it out for a few of us. I was 1 point away from an insta kill with 1 hit from Joe in my audition. So I think he had his moments. But no,
More than once.
So, but I think we can all give Joe a round of applause for definitely bringing together a great group. But not only on stream, but behind stream with our chat and our Discord that has really morphed more into a family than just a few friends getting together and playing D&D. So let's go ahead and go into, because I do want to touch base just a little bit just on some pre-game stuff. Like what was the inspiration behind your characters? Like, what was the light bulb moment of this is what I want to do and why I want to do it for my character? Jim, I know Whisper was actually your audition character because me, you, and Dom all auditioned together. So I guess I'm going to take this back to auditions. So what made you come up with Whisper for auditions and decide to continue with her?
I cheated in that Whisper is a character that I was playing in a different campaign, one of the campaigns that rarely plays. But I wanted to see her story expand more, and I also wanted to edit some things that I had put in place with her story in that other campaign. So she was an adaptation of a character that already existed, and she's my baby.
Not bad, not bad. Let's go ahead and go to Cece.
Surprise!
So actually for the audition, I played basically a variation of Finnick. She was still an ASMR sorcerer, however, different subclass, and she had
Wait,
a
Finnick's an
questionable
ASMR?
southern accent. But I knew I wanted to play a spellcaster of some sort because I had mainly played melee classes in the past, and a lot of the character building was Joe just like sort of manipulating my thoughts and being like, "But what about this?" And then there was a literal like spark moment, and I'm just like, "Oh shit!" And I don't know how much you were looking for about Finnick currently, but
No, you don't have to go into details of stuff that hasn't come up.
No.
Just more
By
like
all means, go into detail.
don't want spoilers. But just like kind of like that aha moment, like this is what I
But
want to do.
yeah, we spent a lot of time. Like, I had like a general idea for a backstory, and then it turned into a completely different thing.
As all great things typically do. Um, let's go with Taz. Tell us about Clover.
Okay, so similar to Whisper, I had taken Clover from a previously played character. I think I've kind of touched on this before, but like I almost always play rogue. I just love rogues, and I know that people love to change it up and try new things, but I don't. I love arcane trickster rogues, and I could play one in every campaign if I could. So my audition character was Clover Hexcomb, but when I auditioned, she was a halfling, and when Joe invited me to continue on with the group, I think is right around the same time that Wild and the Witchlight came out, or that came out
think so.
previously, but I had just read it around that
Right.
time. And when that book came out, they introduced Herringons. And I was like, oh, okay, well, this is a good way for me to continue to be what I want to be, but get everyone to stop telling me to try something new. So I kept everything. I even kept the original Clover's halfling family, but then I just made Clover like adopted into it. Um, and yeah, I just wanted like a sweet little innocent bunny rabbit character, and I have not disclosed her like origin story yet, but I'm very excited to because it is both tragic and very funny, like Clover.
Yeah, I remember it had just come out because while we were waiting for Joe to come on and announce who had made it through, I mean, you had said how much you had liked the fact that I'd played a fairy because it was like
Yeah.
this new race and everything. So it just come out. And Dom, I know
Oh,
you did not wind up playing your audition character because
no,
I
much
begged you
as
to
you
play
enjoyed
Tor.
that particular character, that took a lot out of me. Um, Playing a Minotaur life cleric with more energy than I possess was extremely draining for the few hours we played, especially because I looked up all of everybody's health and tracked every combat moment where like he took this much health, she took this much health, I have this much healing ability. Like I'm watching all my spell slots and like that was too much. So for the live stream, playing Gormrog came from um, mixing and matching things about myself and things that I don't want to portray about myself. Like I won't play a humanoid character, just won't happen. So that's where the half orc came from, and playing a martial character is something that is very far removed from myself. Right, just physically capable. That's not me. So this is 100% escapism.
All great things, all great things. Um, so Joe, as they kind of touched on, like you kind of had a hand in those like aha moments for some of our players. Just kind of taking that finger and just like poking at people like, uh-huh, what else? What else?
That is literally what the character building process was like.
Uh-huh. I need
So
more details, guys. Come on.
so like are what I guess like was it you wanted them to think more in depth, or were you trying to pull more out to add to the story? Like, explain kind of the process of just going through and helping them set up their characters.
For me, is like the having to like come up with characters. It's like you get overwhelmed at some point. It's just like everything seems cliche and burnt out. So to come up with like an original character by myself, it's or I always end up overthinking, and I lead to a bunch of dead ends. But I find like at least for when I'm making characters, having someone to bounce ideas off of helps kind of spur that on. and it really helps you embody the character more when you finally do sit at the table because it's like, oh, I know who this person is. I've lived their life now up until this point. I knew who this character is going forward. I want to see what kind of things that character will do moving forward. But you have a good basis off of it because you know the decisions they've made, even over mundane things in the past. Plus, it gives me plenty of stuff to pull for to like torture people with, like killing your stepbrother
Which I think we can honestly say we were all
or
out
adopted brother.
for
Yeah,
you
or
said
whatever.
that.
Or,
Sarah,
So
you
blowing
didn't
up
even
your
see
home.
it. You didn't even see
Yeah.
half of the outrage.
so so going into our first couple episodes, we we all meet at a gathering point, typically some sort of locale where even townspeople will gather at the end of their day, meet up with their friends and talk and everything. Um, and everybody seemed tied to at least one character or another. One thing that has kind of come to fruition, excuse me, words don't work right all the time. Um, is food. Everybody, like, and at the center of that is Gormrog supplying people this food. So, like, is that something that just kinda happened organically, or is this something like Dom, did you kind of, because I think you've touched base before how, especially in your interview, like, you try to get tools that don't quite match your characters to kinda give them, like, this interesting twist.
It's
So, did you plan on that factor being such a focal point? Like, the food being such a focal point for Gormrog?
I masterminded the entire thing. Everything was planned down to the ingredient. No, nothing was planned. None of it is planned. It's just 100% like, hey, what's an interesting tool? This one. I don't know. I've never done it before. Let's try it. Cooking tools. How can I make this a thing for his background? Cool. Here we go. All right, now we're in character. I have to be this guy who's been using these tools. Improv. And it just kind of snowballed out of control, and now it's everywhere, and I can't stop.
I feel in that aspect you kind of become like Caduceus from Campaign too, how he was always cooking for everybody. But also
I'll take that compliment.
another person that really surrounds food is Whisper. She absolutely loves food. Are you able, Jim, to kind of give us some insight on where her love for food comes from? Is she just really interested in just trying new things, or is there something else behind that?
Yeah, without giving any spoilers, I'm going to be very um, light on this answer.
That's fine.
She grew up eating a certain way, and things are all pretty much the same, and so she hasn't seen the world or tried all these different foods. And so once she left home and she's finally able to try things that she didn't have in her hometown, she has just embraced the chaos.
Give me details.
No, no, we're not trying to pull out any spoilers
Yeah.
at all. It's just looking back and seeing where all we've come. Um, so
I don't know if anybody at home knows this, but I'm all of their biggest fans because their stories are incredible, and I want all the details, and I want to consume it like a book and just read everything and know everything about these characters because I love them.
I think we've all kind of fallen in love with each one of you, including Joe. In their own little ways. No matter uh what what sorts of ups and downs these characters have come through. And what is amazing is that we're sitting here at almost a year since the audition process started. Because I think it started back in middle January-ish last year, or this
Something like
year.
that, yeah.
This year. But we're what is it? 16 episodes in now? I think 16 episodes. Um,
Yeah, next week will be 16.
yeah, so it's amazing to see 16 episodes, 2 one-shots. Jim's amazing. Goodberry Cafe that I don't think anybody can walk away from Jim's show at all just like not having warm fuzzy feelings. Like you feel like you just left a cafe on like a rainy cozy day. You've had your nice cup of tea or coffee, which is awesome. And um, there's just so much that's happened in a year. It's really hard to pinpoint one thing because our characters, when you look at it, 16 episodes, a lot has happened. So much has happened. We started in the sewers, and then we started unraveling the clasp and all this other stuff. So, to go ahead and pinpoint one thing to focus on has definitely been difficult for me when Joe said, "Hey, do you want to do a thing?" I'm like, "Sure." But so I want to go back again. I'm trying to break this down in sections, sticking to our first couple episodes, going to that first adventure, where everybody decided to go help Gormrog with his task from the Cobalt Soul to go investigate these creatures in the sewers, these giant spiders that had been showing up around town. What was going through your characters' minds that made you wanna go, "Yeah, sure, let's go ahead and go, help him out."
Well, I don't think that's exactly what happened, because we didn't know Gormrog yet, and we didn't know about any of his missions. What happened was we all happened to be at Marie Lynn's in the same place when a dad came in looking for his daughter.
That's right. You're absolutely right.
Um, and I think each of us, and I'll let them answer on their own, but each of us decided, like, oh my gosh, we have to find this missing girl. And that's what Clover was. Clover saw this dad really upset and was just like, oh my gosh, we need to help him. Felix, let's help him. So that's her.
Who would like to go next?
I mean, I'll just jump in here. Because we have tied backstories, Donald and I had a pre-game mini session 0, and in that we had to face these spiders, um, and it didn't go well at all. Um, but we knew there were more, and we knew we had to do something about it. And knowing that this little girl who had a missing cat or whatever it was, a dad with a missing girl, it's probably the same thing. And because we didn't finish the job, we're kind of responsible for, going and taking care of that.
I guess I'll go next. Finnick was she was very unsure about going down just because like it's a group of random people. She's not the most social, but she knows there's safety better in numbers, so she's like, I might as well, you know. And she just hopped on in.
Yeah, for Whisper, I don't really think her motivation really lied in helping. I think it was more, oh, this is a fun thing to do. Let's do it. Let's go. Next adventure. Um, Especially because arriving and being new to the town and um, not knowing the lay of the land yet. So for her, it was, I think, It was more like, yeah, sure, let's help. Let's do it. Come on.
So I know for me, the whole like concept behind that initial encounter was I wanted to be as cliche as possible. I wanted like you meet up in a tavern, and someone runs in, and there's an emergency, and you go down to the sewers and fight giant spiders. I just was the whole initial concept was just cliche. That's why that happened that way.
That was actually going to be my next question, Joe. Like, what what was the motivation behind the like having them go down to the sewers and everything, and going with the traditional meeting in a tavern? But
Yeah.
hey, just because it's cliche, does it like what do they say? If it's not broken, don't fix it.
Exactly.
So,
If it ain't broke, yeah.
so we got through the spiders, and I'm sorry, guys, my brain is still not recovered from the craziness of the holidays. I think we moved directly into was it you guys went and met Wendy first before going in back down into the sewers. I believe you went to
Right.
the
If I'm
school.
Yeah, I got a
if I
question
remember
Um,
right,
about
they
that.
came out. Okay. What's
Joe,
up?
did you
What's your
make
question?
Wendy or is that from the books?
What books?
Are we playing in the world of Exandria? Did they give you any
Oh yeah,
NPCs?
no, she's me. She's my character.
Joe, your mic got really
Gross.
low.
Explains so much.
Gross.
I love Wendy.
Like a great character to love to hate her, but like, where did you pull that from?
I'm like, I don't know. I'm crazy. Leave me alone. I said, what was someone? Lyndon's such a good guy, right? What is someone Lyndon could be seduced by who's obviously fucking nuts? And that was Wendy.
Don totally beat me to that because that was going to be one of the questions. Was like, did you create Wendy or was she an NPC? I also want to know, and I think a lot of us, even possibly you guys, because I can't remember if this has been revealed yet or not. But do we? I'm assuming you know, but is there a purpose, like an actual specific purpose, Wendy like takes these people, like random people's blood, like with her claw or whatever? Like, are we gonna find out more about that or?
There is a reason, and it's been alluded to in the story already. Some of the use she has for it, but if you ever interact with Wendy again, I don't know. Like,
Um, and again, I'm sorry, guys, my brain is completely fried. So you guys met Wendy, and that's when you guys were then sent down into the sewers to investigate. Um, the class was it the class that's down there? No.
So, um, it's spoilers for anybody who hasn't uh seen everything we've gotten up to. But
maybe the recap shows the best place to start with watching us.
the sewers held what was reported to be the clasp, but it wasn't the clasp. It was the myriad, where they had been hiding the wild creatures before they released them into the city or sent them to the Spellrite.
So going on the creatures being released in the city, um, Joe, if they hadn't gone, met Wendy and gone to the school and learned about this, were you still planning on finding another way to get them down to the sewer to investigate this? Or is this just like a random string? You're like, if they take it, they take it. If they don't, we'll go another direction.
Yeah, I think I had a few different options I could go from at that point, like if they didn't decide to jump into the sewers. Because I think part of that was when they were there, they found someone from the school, the Spellwright Sanctum. They found them there, and that kind of led them up to the Sanctum, and then the Sanctum found out they had the break in, which led them back down to the sewer. But they could have, tried to. They did in some ways investigate the books and try and find out information that way. Mm, they could have, next time an animal was released, try and track the animal's path down. There was other options they had.
And uh, again, spoilers for those who haven't caught up. You guys managed to rescue one of the animals that you found down there, the griffin.
My baby.
Yes. So to our knowledge, sorry, Jake let the dogs out. He's definitely interested in keeping in touch or sticking around the party. We haven't been able to leave the city yet. So we haven't seen much more of him. But Jem, like realistically, if Whisper was able to save more than just this griffin, or there was more there for her to save, like how far would she have gone to try and save as many? Would she go completely off rails and off script and just like start opening every single cage and trying to get all of them out? Or would she have thought about this kind of realistically?
She would not have thought about it realistically, but I think it would largely depend on what kind of creatures they were and how they reacted towards her. Like, if it was cute, she'd probably try and save it. Even if it was mean looking but nice to her, she'd probably try and save it. So it was all very dependent.
So she just, it's not just like, okay, animals, here you go, set free. There definitely would have been some thought to it.
Yeah. Like
So I'm trying to think of where I want to go here. Because I love the thought process because you guys got the griffin and you got out, and then you try to figure out how to get it outside of like this manhole because you realize it's too big. But I feel like we really within that's where the story really started taking off. So I'm trying to figure out what all I want to focus on here. I think we're gonna have to circle back around because I can't pick. So we get the we get the griffin, and I also want to say like this is the second time they've been down in the sewers. We've had jumping ahead a little bit. We've also had the big attack on the city, lots of dust, explosion. Again, spoilers. If you're not caught up, this probably isn't going to be the best
episode. I just
right.
watching it
And then we always tend to circle back around to Gormrog's house. So our characters have no doubt gotten dirty. Gormrog, how are we dealing with a bathroom situation and people getting cleaned up? Because I can't imagine his place has more than one.
So,
bathroom.
fantasy elements are fantastic in that we don't have to think about that, right? We don't have to think about biological processes in any way, shape, or form. Like, it's a thing that happens to all of us. But like, do,
I
do
just
we
had a
really
long
need?
line.
Scanlan,
I
look
was
at
like,
Scanlan.
bathroom every morning.
But also,
I built a
there's been
beautiful
two
bathroom
separate
in your new house.
instances now where Clover spent hours walking around to every single 5 squared area, prestidigitationing it clean.
This is true. This is true. Is there any in like the first 4 or 5 episodes that really
Bless you.
were your guys' favorites? And this is even out to Joe. Like something like your character either did or just something that happened that you walked away saying, I loved that moment.
I have several. My earliest one was probably um, when we were all at Marie Lynn's and we were ordering food, and Felix asked if the cow was a whole cow, and that nonsense ensued. Um, and then and then Gormrod came out and was like, "No, it's gonna be a cut. I can make like a New York cut." And Clover's like, "Oh, what's New York?" He's
That
like,
was not meant to be in character at all.
he's like, "Oh, that's just this cut I made up." And Clover's like, "I would love some New York style carrots." And actually, Clover was never intended to be a vegan until that moment. And at that moment, I was like, "Oh shit."
Very much a yes and moment.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any like moment in those first couple where we're really starting to learn about the characters that you guys just really loved yourselves playing or watching from one of your other fellow players? It doesn't even have to be specific to you.
I have
Clover's
one.
Grass Angels.
I was just about to
The
say
Mud
that.
Angels?
Yes,
The Mud
the Mud
Angels, yeah.
Angels is for sure one of my favorite scenes.
It was such a throwaway moment that it's just like pure and innocent and just yeah, we were just in the sewers. It's raining. We're outside, but like just gonna lay down in the mud and make some angels here. It was honestly just a wonderful moment, and I really enjoyed that.
I have to say it was when Tristan and Whisper were sitting outside of the sanctum, and it's like
The
one of the
first time.
first like heart-to-heart character moments that I saw, and
Yes.
I loved that.
The first time it
Every
happened.
time the two of them are out
The
there.
first time it happened.
What was that show?
Every time the two of them are out there, just like chatting, it's like, what the
Fuck
fuck? Did you just
learning.
fucking get
I
from
hate
these two?
fucks. One of my favorite early moments from someone else was between Joe and Dom, when Joe's like, "Well, that's a you problem," and Gormrug's like, "Well, yeah, that's a me problem. That's why I'm taking care of it." And then literally 2 minutes later, the twin cooks are talking. They're like, "This seems like a problem," and Gormrug's like, "Well, that's a you problem." They're like, "I don't know, problem."
It's a you problem, so you deal with it.
You put two guys from New York in an instance where there are problems happening. It it's gonna devolve into it's a you problem.
Jim, anything really stand out for you in that first couple
I'm,
episodes?
I mean, does the Linden thing count in the first couple episodes?
I think we can count Lyndon and yeah, he was
Which Linden
Him
thing?
being attacked,
Oh
us like discovering that.
no.
Does
That's
that
a
count in the
favorite
first
of
couple?
yours?
Yes.
yeah, I would definitely count that. Like we're talking because in reality we have 16, so it's kind of hard to break it out. So I would say like in the first half.
Hmm.
Anything in the first half. So probably up to finding Tristan in the temple for the silver dragon. Um
Yeah.
I think anything before that, is there anything that
Is the Linden thing before that? Because my memory
yeah.
is okay. Cool.
Yeah,
You guys took
because we brought
Tristan
Lyndon
in.
to the Platinum Dragon's Rest.
Oh yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Platinum, not silver. Platinum dragon. Thank you, Susie.
Bahamut.
To
Yeah. That
be
definitely.
resurrected.
Definitely that moment. And why is it my favorite? Because it's so dark and grim. But that's not why. I think that was just the moment where, like, before it was all a little bit lighthearted and we were all like, things are happening, but nothing really seemed too serious. But I feel like that was when shit got real hard. And, like, the moments where we realize like, oh, we could have probably prevented this in some way, shape, or form. All of us like had a thing that we were like in our heads about like, what if we did this differently? And so we realized consequences, and we also realized the stakes of the game. And I feel like that was like a story defining moment. And I love when I leave a session and I'm like, what the heck? And that session, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that just happened. And so for me, that was a standout moment.
Devastating.
Joe, what about for you?
I mean, the Linden thing was probably one of my highlights just as a DM so far, just because it was uh, everything I had done up to that point. Like as Jem just said, it was like very much like, all right, well, we're just kind of like listening to the story, okay, thanks for tagging along. And it was like a lot of me just like leading the team through these things, and that was the moment I brought him to, where it was okay, things change from this point on, and I let go of the bit, and now we're into that after point where now it's very clear that the things they do will define what this campaign is going to be.
Right. Yeah, that I would definitely say Linden's where everything got personal.
One more standout moment that I wanted to bring up is Phoenix clutch detect thoughts when Marie Lynn's was about to be blown up.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the fact that it was pure chance that I honed in on that one individual.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's my proudest moment so far.
So we know, circling back to Clover, because obviously, again, I'm not trying to pry out spoilers from anyone. And I'm going to come to you, Cece, because you're the one, Phoenix probably the one we know the least about. So there's going to be some things coming up. So we know in the beginning, Clover was very adamant on reminding people she's a halfling girl. She's a halfling girl. Are we going to learn why it is that she doesn't want people to know she's a Harrington or tries to pass herself off as a halfling? Is that something that's going to come up?
She's not trying to pass herself off as anything. As far as she has. So, okay, we can metagame because we're humans. Okay. Clover doesn't know she's a Harengon. Clover doesn't know what a Harengon is. She's never met a Harengon. She's never seen one. Neither has anyone in her family, anyone in her community. And no one who she has met so far has known what she is. No one in this group yet has ever seen a Harengon before. So as far as she's concerned, she's just a freaky ass looking rabbit halfling. Like she doesn't know what she is. So that's why when people look at her weird and stuff and are like, what are you? She's like, I'm a halfling. What do you mean? Like, and she's been bullied her entire life for it. So yeah, she's adamant about being a halfling because she doesn't know what else she could possibly be.
Got you. So she came to be with her, and again, you don't have to go into spoiler details, but she was definitely taken in by her family prior to retaining any memories beyond entering this family.
Yes. And yes.
You can leave it at that. That's fine.
That's okay. I'm just telling what I'm comfortable with. She was. I had mentioned this before because Felix and I had discussed that he found her when she was 2 years old. About roughly speaking, you can't really judge these things too closely. And he took her to the Hexcomb family farm because that's where Lyndon lived, and Lyndon and Felix were best friends. And Felix had grown up with an abusive single dad. He's not here anymore, so I'm allowed to say that. So he couldn't bring me into his house, so he took me to Lyndon's house.
Gotcha. That's interesting because I always like, to me, and it must have been just not catching certain things that were talked about, because I was always like, why is she trying to hide this fact? Because I always thought that she knew. So that's interesting. I'm I am so interested in finding so much more about everybody's characters, more about with Clover, about how she came to be with her family and where she came from. Whisper, why um, she's decided to strike out on her own and experience the world, and pretty much everything about Fennec. Because I feel like we've learned so little, but so much about her at the same time, but you still have a big question mark. Like, what's going on here? And then I'm interested to learn more about Gormrog and Tristan and their time with their tribe before they left. So I'm
It's
excited
not
to
a whole
see.
lot to tell.
I'll say this, like this group of players, the subtle role playing that they do, like the little things that they do, just not saying a word, but they'll start like shifting or making a face in character, and unless you're looking at it, you won't notice it at all. Phenomenal. Like I mean, knowing a lot of the backstory stuff, like the things I see, I'll say certain things and certain players will react in character, and it's just phenomenal.
Dawn is so good about that because I'll be watching him, and I don't know about everybody else. I'll be watching him, and I think when there's something big going on or some sort of big conversation, he tends to be the one I pay attention to the most. I'm like, there's something more. He's saying so little, but so much. I'm like, there's more to what he just said, and I can't put my finger on it, but he's the one that I tend to find myself paying the most attention to when there's like a real big conversation happening. And I'm so happy he's back because we lost him for so long, and I was so interested in seeing everybody's connections between the two characters that came in together and everything. So I'm so happy that we got him back. So we've covered the sewers coming out. We've touched on Linden. I don't want to spend too much time on that because that was very dark and traumatic, I think, for everybody. But I'm going to keep us there because I want to get the heavy stuff out of the way. The explosion at Marieland. We've lost some characters. Though they were NPC and minor characters, became fan favorites very quickly. We lost one of the twins. We lost quite a few people there. I want to dip a little bit, Dom, into, and again, don't give anything that you're not comfortable giving because it might be too spoilery. But we saw Gormrog, who had the deepest connection to this place, really step up. You could tell like he was upset and he was grieving about what had just happened to his home. This was him and Tristan's home besides their small little apartment. But really step up and like kind of like put it in a box for now because he had to make sure everybody was safe. He had to get people out. What was it like kind of trying to work through that and the mentality going inside Gormog's head besides I have to get these people out? Are we going to see this kind of impact him later down the road, do you think? Or
So it's impacting him now. Um, you know when the shit hit the fan, he, unlike me, is able to just in the moment compartmentalize, determine my personage is the least important here. What matters is everyone else and their safety. The rest of this is just material things and me. What can I control? And in that moment, he decided Danny's in the most immediate danger. Certain people are already gone. Save whoever you can. And um, when the impact first hit, some people managed to get out, but him and Finnick were still in the building. And so knowing Finnick has a problem where fire means shutting down, he had to get her out because she wasn't going to get herself out. Um, and it was after the people who could get out got out, and reflecting on that he decided, my life as a pacifist is over. I'm going to kill everyone who was involved in doing this. Um, but then that didn't quite come to fruition in the sewers when they went back. I don't know if anybody noticed that, but I refused to be a part of the killing blow.
Yep.
So I'm glad you touched on the he really wanted to focus on he got who he could out, but knew the one that would probably need his help the most was Fennec because she does shut down during fire. So, Cece, we're coming around to you. We know we've seen Fennec freeze with fire before. One thing that I did kind of notice is she did have that moment where she froze, but once she was out of the fire, she really stepped up and seemed to really push through some of that. Like, I kind of have to, like, it's there, I'm scared, but I need to do some things also. Is this us starting to see? I know it's probably going to be a really long road, and again, no spoilers, but is this kind of like the tipping point and the jumping off point of Finnick kind of starting to come to terms and get over whatever it is that's causing her to have this trauma and fear response from fire?
I wouldn't say it's her getting over it at this point. It's the fact that like Gormog was able to help get her out, and she's starting to, reality starting to hit her like, oh shit, I need to go help. I need to sort of swallow it and deal with it later. It's very much that thing where it's like she knows, like, if you could have seen her, she was very, like, obviously sweating, shaking, the whole 9 yards, but it was just that thing where it's like other people need my help. And it's also the point where she realized that she really cares about these people, so she wanted to help them.
Yeah, like I said, I definitely, you could definitely see she still had it there, but I love seeing like she was able to kind of push through it for the others to an extent, which was awesome. And I was like, yay, Finnick, during that moment. But I feel like I mentioned before, like Lyndon and Marie Lynn's kind of exploding is kind of what really made everything personal for everybody. They realize their actions have consequences. Things can be tied back. Clover had a direct, actual personal connection to the attack with Lyndon and everything. So Joe, was it your initial intention to, whether it be with Lyndon or at this point, try to give some sort of scenario that would really solidify and make things personal for the group, or did it happen earlier than you initially planned?
Oh, trying to bring them like I said, the intention of like all that whole pretty much episode was to kind of like show them that they can influence the world, and them the explosions being brought to Marie Lynn's only happened because uh I forget exactly what it was, but like it had led back to Marie Lynn's at one point, so that's why. Oh, I remember what it was. It was because Haystix showed up at Marie Lynn's because they had requested a meeting with Haystix. So that led the Myriad to say, okay, well, there's something. There's been a public display of the clasp at this location, so that's why they had initially come there, and then everything accelerated from that. But that was the point of that, was to show, like, to make things personal for the team, to kind of like have that moment where we uh kind of really tie them into the story we were telling at that time.
So we've been in the town for a while now. I'm assuming there are plans to at least let our characters leave town. We're not trapping them in. Um, Everything that we're seeing with the myriad, the class, and all the shady dealings that's going on with the struggle of power inside the town. Is this more of just a jumping off point and this will have resolution before they leave? Or is this something that you could are we going to see trickle out? Like, is this part of the overall arc, or is this just kind of to bring our characters together and have that first adventure?
It depends on the players. They could decide to continue down that thread and like really go in and try and investigate the myriad and go dive down that line, or there are more plot hooks that have already been dropped for certain people, and they've can decide to take those things along. It's That's up to the players, whatever however they want to decide it.
So I'm going to move on to the second half. So we're in the Temple of the Platinum Dragon. Lyndon's been resurrected. Yeah, yeah. I can't tell you. I was on the edge of my seat during that whole moment when everybody was doing their checks for it. I was literally on the edge of my seat. I was so scared this was going to go sideways. You guys have been through so much to try and get him. So, and this might be me, and I keep keeping an eye on the chat to see if any questions come up from anybody. Because anybody, please, if you have any questions, just throw them in the chat. I'll definitely post them to the cast. There, and again, this might be me reading too much into it, but it almost seemed like Gormrog had some sort of run-in with them. For some reason, he doesn't care too much for those inside the Platinum Dragon. Is that me? Did I read that wrong?
It's not the ones just at the Platinum Dragon. Gormrog doesn't like anybody who says life is determined by gods.
Gotcha. So,
That's it's got a lot to do with canonical orc culture
mhm,
in the Wizards of the Coast lore for orcs, and the background that Gormrog grew up in.
gotcha. So I didn't know if I was reading too much into that. I'm like, he doesn't seem to like these people very much. Um,
It has nothing to do with the people and everything they stand for.
Gotcha. Um, where do I Are we allowed to talk?
No, not at all. We have to shut this thing down immediately.
So,
Everybody mute yourselves.
are we allowed to, while everybody's sleeping, talk about what
Wait,
Clover?
I
I'm
don't know.
trying to be vague about it.
I don't know what
I don't
Clover
know.
did. Like,
I don't think
That's
anyone knows
Nope.
anything.
Nope.
Nope. Okay, so I'll just leave it there then. We won't go into it.
I do want to say though, regarding that, I had absolutely no idea Joe was going to make that private because he had never made anything private up until that point. And yeah, this entire game is improv. All of it's been improv. We don't but that moment was a complete surprise to me. I had no idea what was happening or what was going to happen next. And once it was over, I had no idea what I had just done.
So going off of that, Joe, without giving me any details what happened, was
Right.
there a particular reason why you decided at that moment to make it private? Because like Taz said, you hadn't done that yet before.
It seemed like it should be private. It seemed like that was Taz had already said like certain things about other things that have happened in the past. Be like, I don't want anyone to know about this yet. So I figured that was the easiest way to have that, let the audience kind of experience that and
Yeah.
not ruin
No, it's fun. It's fun. It was
that sort
just
of thing for
that's
the
still that part of
rest
the
of the
game
cast.
right now is the only thing that I am truly not prepared for in any way.
So talking about things you're not prepared for, is anybody, um, Joe included, is there anything that you know may be coming up relatively soon for your character that you're not quite prepared for yet, or you're anxious about being revealed? You don't have to go into
I got
any
it.
details or anything like that, but is there anything that you're kind of like,
Nice.
we're
Has
getting
anything
close to
happened in
this.
these
I
last
don't know
few
if I'm ready
episodes?
for this about your
Has anything
character.
happened in the last few episodes that may be alluding to something?
Several things, Joseph.
I mean, we have our big comeback coming up, but other than that,
We have a large creature that is of mythical proportions that is just chilling outside the Lord Mayor's house with a saddle on it. Um, we have a reference to Tristan's backstory before his backstory with me that is going to be roped into this upcoming combat. We have mention of a new what was it, Empress? Did you say in
Yep.
another place? Um, for later references. Uh, this is just off the top of my head. I can check my notes for the rest of it, but yeah, there's some threads leading to some things that might cause some concern for those of us with anxiety. No names being named. Me.
So the battle through the streets with the grunk? Am I saying that correct?
yeah,
Okay, grunk.
Wrong. Yep.
This was
Yeah.
actually my first introduction into this creature, so I didn't even know it like it was even a thing. Joe just starts talking about this like frog that's running around. Like what the heck? So you guys came close to getting him, and then he just, by the skin of his teeth, wound up getting away. During that fight, did you guys think like, okay, yeah, we got this. He'll be down. Were you guys expecting, or did you kind of see that he might get away, or did you guys think you had it in the bag when you were fighting him?
No. I
No.
know personally because, Fennec was currently experiencing 2 levels of exhaustion, she wasn't gonna do shit. And, all those failed dex rolls?
The moment that Clover went down, I'm like, we don't have this at
we
all.
yeah, we were and still are honestly, but at the time we were so low level. I think we were still level 3. I think I had like 11 hit points to my name or something like that. I'm like, how, like this is the leader of the myriad that has been taking down the entire Spellwright sanctum. And at first, when we were chasing, I was like, okay, I can be fast if I jump on Tristan's back or whoever's back I was on. Then he shot me, and it was immediately like 90% of my hit points. And I was like, no, we're level 3. We are level 3.
Anything within that fight before you guys finally did go and take him down like an episode or 2 ago? Um, anything that you really enjoyed, because in between that, we did have a shopping episode, which was kind of fun. You guys going around town, finally seeing some of the local vendors. Gormrod kind of being able to show people around, oh, yeah, I know where we can get something. Was there anything between the explosion and just before that fight going after the Grunk that you guys really enjoyed or stood out or anything like that you guys like to touch base?
I was really intrigued about the other pillars of smoke that Joe had mentioned, and I wanted to know where those were. Um, and I know we found out that one of them was one of the places of business that could have had magical items. Uh, but Joe mentioned there were three pillars of smoke that we could see just from where we were, where multiple explosions have gone off. And I thought that was just narratively just pretty interesting. Um, but that's one of those things that we just couldn't focus on because getting to him was more important.
Mm-hmm.
I can't distinguish particular moments within that like few episode period of time. So I have no
Right.
Yeah, we're all kind of traumatized from that.
But it had to have felt some sort of relief though when you guys finally did manage to take him down. No?
Seemed too easy.
Yeah.
Seemed
Did.
too easy.
I think also during the fight, during the end of the fight, Clover had this like out of body experience, and I don't know if we're gonna see that again in the future. But you know, she's this innocent little girl from a farm, and suddenly she's pulling out this frog's intestines. You know, it's a little weird.
A little bit.
A
Just
little
a little
bit.
bit.
I don't know if we're gonna dive into that in the future or not.
We're probably going to have a conversation about it, but
Yeah, now that you
Okay.
mention it.
So
like Tristan slashing the dude, nothing new. But the two of you, Jim and Taz, Jim, you bit him.
she didn't just bite him, she requested his legs to be cooked.
Yeah.
It is fucking morbid.
It was a lot.
Whispers never
It was
pretended to be
morbid, but
dainty. Yeah, like.
No, we're aware.
I feel
Not
like it
not
was morbid,
just
but at the same token, it felt like it fit Whisper.
She is
It's
chaotic
like, yeah, the
neutral.
frog, people eat frogs, why can't we eat him? So I feel like it fit her so well.
it's just
So, Joe, is there anything being the DM and watching leading up to this point that you you yourself have just really enjoyed watching what this group of people have done to a story that you've created, and seeing where they go, having these really lighthearted moments, like most recently setting up their house, figuring out what they want, how many levels do they want, do they want a basement, do they want a tires, like all these other things, but also these really dark moments, such as with Lyndon and everything. Is there anything where you're just like, man, I got lucky with the group of people I get to play with? Is there anything that really stands out to you and be as a DM watching them play?
Joe hates all of us.
That's true.
Speak
It's
for
not just you guys; it's
yourself.
everyone. Um, I don't know. Like every episode we play, I'm flabbergasted that I get to sit at the table with these players and like guide the story because they everything that they've done, I've just had a blast, like sitting through and watching. Every time they start going off on these tangents, the occasional cooking one, I have to start. I got to reel in a little bit, but most of the time,
Yeah.
it's just a pleasure for me to sit and watch them play.
I
I
know
think every episode is now going to be a cooking episode just because you said that.
I love cooking episodes. So sorry to sidebar, but
Thanks.
in my other like long-term campaign, I'm the cook. I play the cook. So in this game, having like staying out of that and watching Gormrog and Whisper take that over and like sitting back while they do it, it's so different. And I love it, but it's also weird. I like part of me goes into my other game and is like, well if she were here, she would jump right into that kitchen and start frying things up. But sorry that I don't know what we were talking about.
Whisper,
Go on.
Jim, I want to touch on something that a comment Whisper made. I just got caught up from when I was sick. So all the episodes kind of like the last 4 episodes kind of blend together. So I don't know what episode it took place in. But I think it was Gormrog asked Whisper if she trusted the group. And she said no. Well, I trust Finnick. But she doesn't quite trust the group. Can you see Whisper eventually trusting the group, or is she the type of character that's always going to keep everybody at arm's length?
I can see with certain things happening, her learning to trust the group, but like trust is not something you get in a couple. I don't know. The thing
Sure.
she went through with Finnick separately added a bit more depth to how she sees Finnick than how she's seeing the rest of the group right now. So with time, for sure, I can see her learning to trust people unless they betray her trust. But
And I think that comment for me was just so like a head scratcher to me because she seems so warm and so open. Like she would be the type of person to trust almost pretty much anybody. Obviously, there being some exceptions to that, but just being very welcoming and trusting to start off with.
there's a difference between like intelligence and trust. So I feel like the way she's comes off is just because she's not the brightest. But when she's thinking about who do I trust, it's a little bit of a deeper level.
Gotcha. I just know recently, like I said, I just got caught up from when I was sick, and that moment just like stood out to me. I'm like, huh. I would have expected that answer from her. Uh-oh, we lost Joe. Um, I do have to say I enjoyed watching you guys decide on your house. Some of the things that came up, were I just couldn't help but giggle. So I really enjoyed that. We're getting close to where we are now. Um, I don't really know where to go with this. Um, is there anything you're hoping to see? Like you mentioned the big fight that we know is coming up and everything. Is there anything you guys are hoping to be resolved by this final fight? Is there something you yourself hope to see resolved from everything that's happened with this upcoming fight? Or do you think it's going to take more?
I'm personally hoping that our efforts in stopping the Myriad will solidify a stronger connection to the Clasp. Um, I assume Clover is still in contact with them. I don't know. I know I said I was going to talk to them to gather information. Um, but I think the biggest difference between the clasp and the myriad is the myriad is a lot more harmful, but the clasp does some good, um, depending on where the coin is coming from and what it's going towards. Um, so having them as allies would be beneficial to us. Um, Even if we're not explicitly members, I think having them as allies would be good. And I hope that stopping the Myriad's attack would be a step towards that.
Anybody else have anything they're hoping to see kind of come to close or come closer to being closed?
I guess, like, with me, it's like, I know this isn't the end. I feel like this isn't the end of the Myriad battle for sure. Because if they're just sending in, like, reinforcements, like they said, like, maybe 10 people, and, like, if they're as big as we think they are, then I definitely feel like this isn't the final battle. We're gonna be encountering them further along the way as well.
If there's one more episode, we battle them, and then that's it. Campaign over.
Thanks for playing. Great show. um, is there? I know you guys, obviously you guys talk amongst yourselves. Is there any questions you guys personally have for each other on what's happened to the characters so far? That you want to ask each other?
Yeah, I got lots of questions, but nobody wants to answer them.
You know, spoilers and shit.
There's so much that Clover wants to learn about these people that is just gonna have to happen organically over time.
Yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at. Um,
Yeah, without getting any spoilers, I don't think I can ask any
I know,
questions.
it's hard.
Yeah, I just more so meant like maybe like asking like what was going through, if there was a certain event that you wanted to know what was going through somebody else's head during that event or whatever. Um should do we Let me ask you this, Joe, because we're kind of like doing nags 1 year. Um should we get into some of the one shots? I know CC's DM'd one. I want to know with Jem. I know you've DM'd once or twice, or at least a handful of times, personally on your own, because I remember roughly around summertime, you started asking some of our DMs in our Discord about some tips because you were going to be DMing your first one. Like, what was it like for you guys taking over Joe's role and DMing some of our one shots that we recently had for Halloween and the holidays?
It was stressful, because obviously this was my like I DM'd one shot previously for a group of friends, but also knowing that this was going to be live streamed and having people view it, I felt like there was just an added pressure versus this is just entertainment for my friends. Um, and it was a lot of fun. However, there was some points where I was just like, I am messing this up horribly. I know one of my characters had like 7 different accents at some point before I eventually gave up. Um, and then I will admit there was a small plot point in that one shot that I'm kind of disappointed we missed. But overall, it was a great time. And I want to DM again. We have plans in the future for that one.
Yeah, I will second. That was super nerve-wracking. I really wanted to pre-record mine, and I went into it thinking we were going to, but then with all of our schedules, the only day that worked was live streaming it. So I was prepping so much for it, and I think well, while I was prepping, I was like, I'm so over prepping. I'm doing far too much. But while I was actually running it, I was like, oh no, I did not over prep. This is fine. I'm so thankful that I did all this ahead of time because it really helped me keep myself organized. But we did not there were so many things I had to skip for sake of time. And there are so many things that people did not pick up on that, yes, Cece, I was like, no, I just wanted you to, I want it. They're like, they didn't even encounter my favorite NPC. And I'm like, no.
It was very much that thing where it was such a time crunch because I know, like, I had to limit it to, like, 3, maybe 4 hours, and there was just so much stuff that we had
So
to
hard.
skip.
Yeah.
And there again, like, the plot points thing, but for sanctity of time.
Yeah, in your one shot, there were so many different things I wanted to explore. Like there was a whole town that we didn't really get to explore, but it was like
It was the end. Yeah.
1:37.
Yeah.
Joe, does part of you kind of like get that moment like my pain and everything listening to what
I
these
was
lovely
texting
ladies have
Jen.
said.
I was texting Jen the whole time, like, this is what you fucking get. You don't understand the chaos that goes behind all this fucking madness. Feel my pain.
Has there been moments in the main campaign where there's been like threads that you've dropped that you really wanted them to pick up and they're just like, yeah, no, we're not doing that?
Continuous campaign like what we play, there's no drop thread I can't pick up somewhere along the line.
But
Yeah, I will
what
say, having DM'd before, one of the great things about an ongoing campaign versus a one shot is those things that get skipped, those NPCs you didn't meet, those plot points, those are no longer in that spot that you missed them in.
Yep.
They're in the next place, right? You've done all the prep work, you tweak a few things here and there, suddenly it's a brand new thing that they get to discover. And it's one of the great things about this game that you can prep things, they get missed, and then they get recycled, and they're new again.
And Joe, you were able to play in our Christmas one shot. How was it putting down the DM mantle and being able to play for a little bit?
It's great. It's nerve-wracking because I'm constantly the one who's like trying to break the fucking system whenever I play a game. I'm like, okay, I know what I would prepare. What happened? What's going on over this corner that I guarantee you have no fucking idea. What, go in, improv 30 fucking minutes for me.
What
So I
does
had to
this
reel
button
all
do?
those impulses in.
If Rima would have eaten that kid, I would have had no idea what to do. Oh my gosh.
Oh, I love it. That's what I live for.
So, a little bit of an off topic. I guess this could be more of a get to know our cast. Yes, Anderson has asked, what's everybody's favorite winter
Soup?
Tomato.
soup?
Big tomato
Oh,
fan. Grilled cheese with tomato soup.
Mm.
Huh.
I was just about to say I love a good classic grilled cheese and tomato soup.
I really like chili.
Does that count?
If that counts as a
Does it
soup,
count?
it is chili.
Sure.
French onion.
And I made my own this season for the first time.
Ooh.
Nice.
I entered it in a chili contest and I got 6th place out of 20
Ooh,
entries.
that's good.
That's rad.
Dom, Jim,
Hmm?
favorite winter soup?
Hmm.
Do not
I
like
I
soup.
am not a fan of soup. I'm sorry.
Dom says no soup.
Soup for you.
I'm going with French onion.
French onion.
Oh, that's a
Yeah.
good one.
With
I love a
garlic.
good French onion soup.
Yeah. The melty cheese on top. Mm-mm.
Mm,
Yeah,
I'm
I love.
hungry.
same.
So again, and I kind of just want to touch base on a little bit of everything that New Age Geeks has done over the past year, and one of those is Jim, your show. Um, Originally we got, I think it was one episode, 1 or 2 episodes of Dicey Conversations, and then it became Goodberry Cafe. what how did you come up with Goodberry? I know Goodberry is a druid spell. Does it did you just tie it back to the fact that you play Whisper, who's a druid? Or was there more behind it?
Uh, was I? I'm not even sure if I was the one who originally came up with the name. We were going back and forth on what to name it, and coming up with lists and lists and lists of ideas. Um, so I don't know if I can take credit for the Goodberry. Was it you, Taz? Yeah,
No, it was
it
you.
was.
You came up
Okay,
with it.
then
And you
one of
said
my
that
lists.
originally
Yeah,
um, for the original one, and somehow it ended up being Dicey Conversation anyway. So
Mhm.
then when you got your own show, I think that you just finally got to choose Goodberry for yourself, which I thought was pretty cool at the
Yeah.
time.
And I think it just works for the vibe that I was going for. And it's like a nice warm feeling. I don't know. I don't know how to describe it beyond that. I think it worked. It had nothing to do with like the druid thing. I just wanted something D&D related that brought forth the sort of vibe I wanted.
Gotcha. Um, so, and this is where I'm drawing a blank. I think almost everybody but Taz has been on Goodberry. Have we had Taz this episode yet?
Yeah.
We have not.
Okay. So the question goes to, I guess, Joe, Cece, and Dom. How was it going on Goodberry? And instead of being in a group, you're now the sole focal point. All eyes are on you. Was it nerve-wracking? Was it just kind of like, hey, I'm just sitting
I
there
didn't
chatting with a
feel it
friend?
was like that at all. Honestly, it just kind of felt like hanging out with Jem.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jem is an
Like,
easy person to talk to, and I again, like I love talking about D&D. I love talking about all this good stuff. So it really came like I was nervous, obviously, but not as nervous as I thought I would be.
yeah, once you're in it, the nerves go away and it's just you and Jem and you're hanging out and you're talking about stuff that you know about. Like, you're talking about you. You're talking about the world around you and the things you're in and
What you're passionate about.
yeah.
I will say, being on the other side of the seat when Joe was interviewing me, I don't know how you all thought of answers to things. I feel like I was just brain dead that whole conversation. I could not think of any of my answers. I was just like, where is my thought process right now? So the fact that you all had such great answers to all of my questions, props.
I can definitely understand how you're feeling because that's like, I feel tonight. I've been on community nights before, but I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to ask the questions. So there's so much that's happened. So I can definitely see that being a feeling. Are you more leaning towards how Jem felt, Joe, or are you with Cece and Dom, where it's just like we're just hanging out, it's easy peasy?
It was fine for me. It was I when I start talking, words start coming out and I forget what I'm saying sometimes. So just word vomit things happen. So I was fine.
Is there anything that you guys would like to expound on that has happened in the campaign, or your hopes for where this will all go? Or are you hoping this continues on forever and ever and ever and it never stops and we're just in for the long run? Or like what how do you guys feel like from day one, what were from your feelings from day one, first episode, to your feelings now? How have they progressed?
I mean, for me, I've been nothing but happy with everyone. I think everyone's been awesome. I've loved the progress we've made. I think the community we've built has been awesome. The players we have are just phenomenal. The other shows we produce are, I mean, I've loved everything we've put out. Don't get me wrong. There's some episodes like I don't really watch because they've been not my finest moments, but you know, we move forward and we everything try and get better every time, and I'm just keep on this trajectory. You know, just keep building. That's where I'm at.
I for me, like the first episode and the first couple episodes, I was so fucking nervous. I was just sitting here like he's like with a whole list of my family members and their attributes and ages and where they live, and another paper over here with everything I'm wearing and what skin tone is and what my ears look like, and then my journal with every single word that anyone is saying, just in case I have to revert back to anything. And now it's just like 5 minutes before the stream, and I'm like, oh shit, better pull up D&D Beyond. So I've gotten a, so I've gotten a lot more relaxed about it, and it seems a little bit more second nature now.
So funny.
See, I'm kind of like that, but I'm not as like relaxed about it, mostly because of I don't know what the fuck Joe has planned. Like, if you check my
Does not have
browser
them planned.
before any game, you'll see D&D Beyond. I have her backstory pulled up. I have her journal entries pulled up. I have the Forging Fates notes shared doc. I have like
Wait, I gotta
everything you could
touch that up.
possibly need, and I'm just like, what is in store for us tonight?
There's a
Like,
shared doc.
No,
no, I misspoke. My notes
See
doc.
me. I need CC me in.
Um, but yeah, it's definitely become a lot easier to like role play and definitely to get into character and everything. Compared to the first couple of episodes, you can definitely see how Finnick has changed just within the first 2-3 episodes, in like the role play alone. It's also just because like I haven't played with any of these people before.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
is scary as hell, and now we're just like doing whatever we feel like, and then we're so comfortable with each other that it comes naturally,
Mhm.
almost.
Dom, have things changed, or is it?
I think that CC makes an excellent point in that um, getting to know the characters and each other, like getting to know our character better and getting to know each other as players over time has just made everything a lot easier. Now that we have a fundamental understanding of that, it's a lot easier to just slip into character. Like uh, Taz said, just yeah, got everything I need right here. Pull up D&D Beyond. I know where it is. I got it. It's fine. Um, and like our comfort levels have definitely changed, but um, there are elements that continue to change and grow and develop. And um, like Taz said, when she mentioned the New York style carrots, her character wasn't a vegetarian up until that point. Um, I will say that the story I told about Tristan and Gormrog meeting Marie, Lynn, and Roslyn was made up in that moment.
Which was great.
Um, what was that?
Which was great role playing, by the way.
Oh,
Yeah,
Mhm.
thank you.
absolutely.
Literally, I would have never been able to guess that was improv.
Yeah,
Like,
every word of that was made up
Seems
on the
so
spot.
seamless. It seems so seamless.
Um, but we are constantly defining and redefining and uh, rewriting our backstories just in how we role play, and in doing that we redefine the character in the moment and who they are and where they come from and where they're going, and so we're becoming more comfortable in ourselves and with each other as time goes on.
You have anything to add to that, Jim, or are you kind of on the same wavelength? Like, or somewhere a little bit in the middle. Like, anxiety was high, and now it's kind of like edged off some, but there's still some of that excitement there.
It was definitely, I was definitely a ball of anxiety when we started, but my having my backstory, my cheat sheet, my notes all up and stuff has not changed. That's still up every session. Um, but yeah, no, it has been just getting more comfortable, even just with streaming in general and being on live stream. Um, yeah, and for the future, I am just excited for the story to continue and get deeper and more layers of all of our characters.
Joe, as a DM, has the adrenaline slowed down any, or is it still pumping strong as soon as that live button's hit?
Like 10 minutes before every stream, I'm like, shit, what am I doing this game? But no, I'm looking forward to like a lot of the backstory stuff from our characters. I think I told everyone when we started this game, I was like, I run my game like a Mass Effect game. So yeah, there's gonna be your background stories that it's all gonna kind of filter into this main story, and it all kind of helps build on everything.
I love it seeing D&D games play that out that way. That DMs being able to really weave their characters, player characters into the story that they've created instead of just like, oh yeah, these are just like kind of people that are there, but just really having them truly be a part of the core of the story. I personally I love seeing that, and I can tell you, y'all look so seamless. Like there's no nerves. You're cool as cucumbers, every single one of you, and I think it would be a blast to play with any of you. Dom, I played with you a few times, and I still love it. I love whenever I'm able to play a game with you. But you're all amazing players, absolutely every single one of you. And Joe, you're amazing DM. Um,
Thank you.
so we do have another off-topic question by Leona DiCapari Zero. I do apologize if
DiCaprio.
I butchered that name. Asking, can you do a flip?
I cannot, but Clover has a very high acrobatic, so I'm sure she can.
Gormrod can do flips all day.
I would
Who you
love to
kidding?
see that though.
He doesn't run. He doesn't walk. He just flips everywhere he goes.
Burrow goes out in the yard every morning while he's working out doing flips at the new house.
Clover literally hops everywhere, so I'm sure she.
Yeah, no.
Lil has asked the naming of the tools and the fists. That's a question I want to answer too. Like, how did that come along?
I
It
totally
wasn't
missed
my
that one. I am
backstory.
so sorry, little Steffers. I totally missed that one.
Clover's tools.
Yeah.
Love and kindness were created by Cece.
The whole
I don't
thing with kill him
I
with
don't remember
kindness.
yeah, I don't remember the entire scenario coming up with it. I was just holding up my weapons, but then yeah, Cece was like kill him with love and kindness, and I was like, oh shit, that's their names. That's perfect. So that was all Cece. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you for contributing to Clover's backstory.
You're welcome.
Gormrog's fists were named Diplo and Macy in my backstory. Um, and the whole thing that he joked to Finnick about with um, I'm a pacifist, but that doesn't mean I won't pass a fist through your face. That was
Ah,
also done in the backstory. Um, I hit Joe with like 6 or 7 lines like that, just to bug him because he was asking for so much information, and I'm a brat, so I'm like, let me just annoy him with things he doesn't actually want. Um, and I'm just gonna have fun with it.
Worst.
Anybody else in our chat have any dying questions they've been wanting to ask?
I see one from above. If you go like above Little Stuffers, and then it's Dom, and then it's Kuma.
Yeah.
I don't think we got that one.
Uh,
Let me find Steffers. Any
I
other
mean,
mythical creatures you or your character would be looking forward to meeting or fighting, maybe? And that's from our other amazing mod, Kuma, who is totally like being my eyes for tonight. So that's from everybody give some love to our other mod, Kuma there.
Um, mythical creatures we'd want to fight.
Meeting or fighting. So not necessarily
Yeah.
fighting, but just meeting.
If you pick up, like, you could go to Barnes and Noble or like a comic shop and pick up a copy of the Monster Manual. Open it up to one of the pages in there in that one.
Any of them?
Hold up, I have a monster manual right here.
I'm a fan. Just cover to cover. Just the
come
good
on,
ones, the
Susie,
bad ones.
open up
You
to a
can
random
see my little
page. That's the next thing
bookmarks.
you're fighting.
A hellhound.
I
So, meeting. I'm speaking on behalf of Clover. Clover's not saying any of this. Clover eventually would love to meet people who look like her. I think Clover would also like to fight. Okay, this is not a mythical creature, but Clover had like a few bullies growing up in school, and there's one specific bitch that like really got on her. I think Clover would eventually like to fight her or save her. Either one.
Oh, that'd be even worse.
I love it.
Oh man, that's what they mean by killing him with kindness. Is just oh oh man.
As Gem, not Whisper, I want Kuatoa and Kenku.
Ooh, Kuotoa.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love Kuatoa. They're the funniest,
Henku are
cutest.
really difficult to roleplay well.
I
But
play with one in one of my
yes,
other campaigns and it's fantastic. But yeah.
Do you see anything you want to meet or fight?
Me personally, not really. Finnick, probably not.
I will say that while I love everything in the Monster Manual, I would like to see a campaign where it features celestial creatures a little more
Oh, that
heavily,
would be cool.
like solars and the like. I would love to see those in this
Okay,
campaign or a different one. Just in general, I'd like to see that.
I will add one thing. Finnick, probably the thing/person from her nightmares. She would like to fight.
Hmm.
Okay. And yes, Anderson has another question. What skill proficiencies do you each have in real life, and which would you add in your next IRL level
That's
up?
such a good question.
Love that.
Yeah.
I have heavily thought about this, and I am if I have two proficiencies, I am proficient in perception and investigation. Nothing gets past me, and I will find out what's going on.
Yes, Anderson, is that true? Can you vouch for that?
Those are. I am bad at everything else. I cannot stealth. I cannot acrobatics. I cannot strength, but I can percept and I can investigate.
Can't confirm. What about the rest of you?
Mm.
I can go next. Because mine's
Yeah,
kind
I'm looking at the list
Yeah.
of skills
Same.
right now, trying to figure this out because I don't have any previous thought on this.
Mine's a little similar to Taz. Insight and perception. My intuition is spot on. My insight scares me sometimes. And perception, I'll notice small changes in places that other people will just not see.
Insight's a good one too.
Mine is probably persuasion. Um, Probably one I'm proficient in IRL. Um, and funny enough, I would say stealth. Because I've been known to sneak up on coworkers, and they're just like, "Where the fuck did you come from?" And I'm like, "I was just over there. I had to grab a couple of things." They're like, "God, you fucking scared me," and I'm like, "It's not an intentional thing, but I would love to become proficient in insight." Because as of right now, it's just anxiety over reading facial changes and changes in body language and their tone of voice.
Joe.
Um, Intimidation, survival, and probably perception would be next highest one.
All
I
right.
can.
So
I'll just say none of you have seen me angry, so
I
I'll
was
just
just I was thinking about my personal experiences with you, and I was like, he doesn't intimidate me. But then I thought for a living, and I'm just not gonna say anything. But then
Like
I
to
did.
add I would like to add intimidation to mine. I would like to add that.
um, I'd probably have disadvantage on most skills IRL. But I think insight is the one I would have proficiency in, if any of them. Um, but I'd like to have any of the other ones added, maybe, possibly.
Listen, you got me on
So
persuasion,
I would
baby.
say your charisma is pretty high though.
I
kind of going off that, like, if going to IRL, like, if you could be any race from D&D IRL, is there any race that you guys think you would be like, yeah, that's totally me IRL? I think we know Jem's answer.
It's like, maybe, yeah. Elf, 100%.
But anybody else have like a race that you really resonated with and be like, yeah, that would totally be me IRL. This was
I
about
Okay.
me.
feel so comfortable as a halfling. I'm already pretty short. I'm not halfling short, but I'm already pretty short. I love to eat bread. I I love to just hang out in my like fucking commune. I have a big family. Like, I feel so comfortable as a halfling, and to be able to live in a nice, peaceful area inside of like a mushroom or a tree or something would just make the experience so much better. So I'm not halfling.
It would
That's
definitely just
solid.
be like a wood elf, just disappear into the fucking forest and never be seen from again. That's my life goal.
Dom, Cece,
Oh, Kenku.
Kinko.
Yeah, the nonverbal anxiety problems that I had growing up
I
uh,
can see it.
parallels the curse on the Kenku where they can't talk. Um, and I've done a lot of mimicking in my life where I'll hear a sound and I'll repeat it and I'll tweak it and I'll repeat it and I'll repeat it and I'll repeat it. So yeah, the Kenku definitely.
Tiefling for sure. I love playing tieflings. Um and I just think they're so cool. I love them. Or I've always been obsessed with like the Ganassi. Just being associated with an element seems like such a fun, cool idea to me.
Yeah, definitely. Let's see here.
So since we're recapping, is there anything that has happened in the game so far that anyone in the moment either wishes they hadn't done or wish that they could have gone back and changed?
Great question.
Ooh, good question.
Okay, for me, it's not a very big one, but the fact, like, when Clover and Whisper were rolling around in the mud, and Finnick was literally just like, "I'm gonna go be my angsty self," and just went inside.
Aww.
I wish she would
I
have
want to
stayed
roll
out
around in
there.
the mud again soon.
She probably would not have joined in, but
Just stayed with the group.
yeah. Then again, that was like the first or second episode where Finnick was like, "I don't know if I like these people."
What about the rest of you, Jim, Dom?
I don't think I have one.
There have been moments where multiple people start talking at the same time, and then we back off and we're like, no, you go. Those are the moments I hate the most.
I hate
And
those
I wish I could
moments.
take that back every time. And I would love to give everybody else the spotlight, and I hate myself for trying to take it.
Yes, I'm never trying to talk over someone, but we begin to speak at the exact same time. And then I'm like, no, 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 you. And then they're like, no, you. And then we're like, ah,
The,
guys."
tr- the tragedy of playing virtually,
Yeah, I was about to say just that. We don't see the
the social cues.
physical body language, the social cues. Exactly. Thank
Hmm
you. Um,
I've started to
so
like go like this or something whenever I have something I want to say, just so that I don't interrupt people because I'm so bad at that anyway. But then like I also don't want to do this because that looks dumb. Which I don't know. It is awkward though.
So like for me, I started playing digitally. That's how I started. And we just started a home game. So now I find it awkward like being there because like now I feel like I'm not talking enough because I'm so used to waiting. There's a pause. And like my group's like, "You okay? Are you nervous? Like we won't bite. We're friendly." Like, no, this is just how I'm used to playing. So like once it's weird seeing how the difference is between playing in person and but there's benefits.
I will say that playing virtually and having this problem of talking over each other has given me more experience and practice in just taking a step back and listening to other people have their moment and role play, and just being present for that. Um, Not listening to answer, but just listening.
There are definitely times where I wish I would have not necessarily like contributed more, but it's like I wish I would have spoke more. Especially in the earlier parts of the campaign, I was very drawn back. I was still very anxious and nervous, and I wish I would have talked a bit more, you know.
And actually, this goes exactly with what Dom said. And I just remembered this, but I remember in the moment after the game, I even messaged Joe to be like, oh my gosh, I hope they're not mad at me. But there was a moment when we were downstairs, down in the sewers, all of us in the cages, and Jem was doing her thing the uh with the caged animals, and she was trying to communicate with them. And I couldn't tell that she was about to speak. It seemed like a long silence. And I swear, the second I opened my mouth, like 0.5 seconds later, she was about to do the same thing. But I was like, why don't you offer them some food? And she was like, yeah, I was just like, you didn't actually say this, but I could tell. You were like, yeah, I was just about to do that. Like, I
I don't
immediately was like,
remember
oh my God, wait, I just
this.
stole her moment. And then I literally didn't say anything for like 10 minutes because I felt so bad.
I don't even remember it.
Yeah,
But like,
I held
I
on
think
to that for
that's
so long because you were literally like, I could tell you were out to try to feed them. and I like completely cut you off and was like, Jem, why don't you try feeding them?
I
Yeah,
think that's also kind of
that's
what
my
we're
reply.
doing here as um using the tabletop role playing space as a way to heal and learn and grow. Um, because like yeah, we all have that anxiety of like I don't want to interrupt you. I'd rather give you that space, but we still do it, and we're human, and it happens. But I don't know. It gives us an opportunity to practice and learn and grow and experience something new, do things differently, and change, be better for it.
Absolutely. I know that was my biggest things when we were all going through the auditions and everything. I was so scared to say anything audition because I didn't want to like take away your moment, Dom, or Whisper's moment. And just like sitting there, I'm like, I don't wanna talk. I don't want to ruin it for other people. So there's several times I know in auditions where there was something I wanted to do, but I held back because I didn't wanna step on anybody else's toes or take something away from somebody else when they could have a moment, so
That
I can
that
definitely.
definitely happened in I know my audition was a lot of people talking over each other, it was hard to get a word in, and it was like, there's so many things I wanted to do and say, but everyone else was just like, "Oh, we're doing this, this, and this," and I'm just like, "Yep, okay, let's go."
So jump back to auditions, Joe. How obviously, there's a bit of an excitement, I'm assuming, of creating this new thing and meeting these new people and everything, but was there, like, a big sigh at the end when you knew you finally had your people, it was done, and just that big relief? Because I know, like, you had auditions, I think it was, like, every single Tuesday for, like, 2 months.
And 4 or 5 total. And it was just it was not an easy process. I can say that much. It was a lot of drama, a lot of fucking people that fucking just say crazy shit. Um, but yeah, when it was all finally done, it was definitely a relief. It was nice to be able to be like, all right, I can move on from this and focus on building the story and figuring out how what kind of thing we want to do together.
Is that excitement from the beginning still there? Like, being able to start that story, do you still have that excitement?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to like every next chapter of this story. Like I'm glad we're finally kind of closing. I've been calling it Arc One for a while now. Like the Myriad arc is kind of like Arc One of our story. I'm glad we're kind of finishing up Arc One, and it's going to very much open up into this wider campaign going forward. And I'm looking forward to that.
I know I'm definitely interested and excited to see where the story goes, especially once we finally leave the city. What parts of Tal'Dori are we gonna see? Like, where
Mm.
are we gonna go? And everything. I'm excited about that. Is
All right.
there anything else anybody would like to comment on or talk about? Like any particular moment? Any questions for each other?
I don't know. I can't think of anything. I just
I
know
mean,
I'm more excited now than I was at the beginning. Now that I feel like I am Clover and she's got all this stuff under her belt so far, and now a lot more things are set in stone, and then maybe in arc two, bigger and better things are gonna happen, or bigger and worse things. Nobody knows except for Joe. I'm definitely more excited now than I was when we started.
I definitely agree with that. Like, these are games that I look forward to. Like, I was just messaging them a few days ago. It's like, is it weird I'm more excited for our next game than I am for Christmas? Because this is like some of the most fun I've ever had playing D&D.
Aw, love that.
I gotta say, I've never shied away from character death. In fact, in some instances, I've encouraged it. Um, but this is the first time I'm so invested in a character that while I'm okay with character death, I'd be disappointed if Gormrog was no longer around.
Just put a
I've
target on
never
your
been
back.
so attached to a
That was
character.
you just
You just
gave
put a
the
target on
definition
your
of next
back.
episode.
I walked into this saying that, Joe. Like,
Very important for
I
her.
when we started, he's like, "All right, are there anything you do and do not want at the table?" Like a session 0, right, where we're talking about hard lines, and I'm like, "Yeah, here are the things I will not be cool with, but like." Here are the things I am cool with, and here's ways you can mess me up. And like, if character death is a thing, go for it. Right? Go ahead, kill him. I don't care. But like, I'd be disappointed.
I think we'd all be sad if something happened to uh Gormorog, or some of the nicknames that have
Mom.
come out from it is Gormy.
Or
Tristan
mom.
calls him Gormy
Or
and
mom.
Gormom.
Yeah.
It's
Gormrog.
it's definitely that thing where it's like I've never been so attached to a character. Like this is a character that I want to see her arc. I want to see this followed through. I would be devastated if something happened to Finnick. Like I love her like she's my own child. Because in a way she is. I did create her.
Mhm.
All right. I think that is going to end our wrap up for the year. Sarah, thank
Yeah,
you so very much for hosting this for us and coming out and hanging with us and being there every step of the journey. Um,
absolutely.
I appreciate everything you've done for us and look forward to doing more with you in the future. Um, as far as the cast, thank you all for, trusting me and jumping on this crazy train with me. And I really hope we can build a fun story for everyone to watch. And I'm just really looking forward to keeping working with all of you and moving forward and growing from here and hope to another successful year to 2023, everyone.
Exciting things to come.
Um, besides that, I think we're good. Everyone that watched today, thank you so much for this will be the last stream we have for the year. So I hope you all have a happy and safe New Year's. We will be back on the 2nd for our first episode of Forging Fates for the year. And we are going to be posting our schedule for the next probably 2 months shortly after that. Shortly, we're just locking some dates down, make sure everything's set up. Besides that, does anyone have anything else?
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
Oh
You're
yeah, I mean,
welcome.
I guess since this is the last stream of the year, just a little shout out to the people who are not really the people who have literally tuned into almost every stream, even though they don't have to, just because I guess they enjoy watching us and want to support us. But like Adam and John, and then also Steffers, you've been there. You've been there. And Dom, your DM who always gives us like bits and stuff. Like shout out to
Charge
Uma.
GPS, yeah.
Uma, you're
Yeah.
always there. Like if I didn't say your name, it's just because I'm playing and not always watching the Twitch stream. But shout out to the people who are literally there like almost every stream. We are very thankful for you.
Let's
Yeah.
not forget our replay crew, all those that watch replay on YouTube.
Yeah.
Very
Say
We appreciate everybody's support. Thank
GPS,
you guys so much.
Kuma, everyone. And just to the few people we've lost along the way, Andrew, Joe, and
Shovel.
oh, thank you, Zobel. We every person that we've had help us along the way to get to the point where we're at. We appreciate everything that you guys have done, and we love you guys, and thank you for being there for us. Thank you for helping us along the way.
See you next year.
See you guys next year.
Bye.